Welcome to Primetime Live at the Duxbury Senior Center. I'm Joanne Moore, and I'm the host for today's show. I'm fortunate enough to have with me two both board and former board members of the Feasibility Study and the Duxbury Senior Center Building Committee. Thank you so much, Pam and Paul, for being on the show today.
Thank you, Joanne.
So we have lots to talk about because we really have been busy at the Senior Center for the last couple years working on this project. So I would love to share with the audience a little bit about the background of how the idea of an expansion started and our work with the feasibility study and where we are in regards to the addition in that project. So why don't we start with the fees? I know that goes a long way back. So let's start with forming the feasibility study committee. Who was involved in that committee?
We were formed in April of 2015. So Paul, myself, you, Joanne.
Yes.
Cheryl Ross, Jerry Thompson, Marcy Bravo,
Shelley Beebe.
Was it the seven of us, I think?
Yeah.
Yep.
And we met regularly and
compiled a great report. So tell me some of the things that were included in the report. Oh, you have the report
have it
right there,
here.
so it's quite a document.
it is. So this report starts with April of 2015, and you and your staff did surveys. That was an important part of our feasibility study, was to have these surveys of the staff and what their needs were. And then we also went to the public and asked them what their needs and wants were for the senior center. And based on that, that's what our group put together for the program for the addition.
And I think one thing that was great was Jerry and Marcy worked on the statistics and what was happening with the senior population and the growth in the community. And I think everyone has a hard time believing that that number is increasing so dramatically, that in 2000 the number was 2,300 seniors, and by 2030 that number could be close to 8,000 seniors living in town. We're all growing older, but that's a good thing.
And I think when you go back to the original design of the building and the construction of the site back in 2000, 2001, before we opened up in 2001, we left a little bit of space at the south end of the building for any future expansion on the site, and ultimately that's what we're looking at this point in time.
Yeah.
So from a master planning viewpoint, the plans that we had in place many years ago seem to be coming to fruition right now. So.
That's great to see that moving forward and to meet the needs of the growing senior population.
Exactly.
So what happened when this report was complete? Where did you present it, and what happened from this result?
Well, this report was, we took this to the selectmen's meeting and went through they had copies of this ahead of time, so when we did appear there, they'd already read this. And they were most impressed. So.
And they basically supported us at their preliminary meeting before the town meeting last January, February timeframe, and unanimously supported the project, which was great.
Right. And last year at town meeting, we're thankful to the town. They supported our request for architectural drawings for $185,000, and that was supported, and then began the work in July. So tell me a little bit about who's on the Duxbury Senior Center Building Committee and some of the work that's gone on there.
Paul and I are on that committee, as well as Cheryl Ross, John Heinstadt, Dennis Nolan,
Jonathan Mark.
and then we have Scott Lambasi,
And
Brian Cherry,
Great.
and yourself.
That's right.
I didn't mention that.
And so the work with the committee when did that work start?
We started on July 1st with Stephanie Bradley as our architect based on the contract signing with the documents, and they started their work in July and August timeframe.
And we really worked in May meeting the different architects.
Correct.
And how many architects were interested in this project?
There were 6 or 7.
We had
that
7
interviewed.
proposals. We had 5 that were very experienced and very knowledgeable, and we interviewed, I think, 4 of them at that time, that one morning, and selected Stephanie Bradley as the cream of the crop.
Great. And so it really has been a nice working relationship for the last however many months until we're here, gearing up for town
And I think when you
meeting.
look at the members of the building committee and their areas of expertise, from architectural to construction management to town officials, there's a good talent base there to assist the architect in getting the work done, but also supporting the town's best interests as well.
So tell me a little bit about the process, what the architectural drawings look like. I'm sure the community wants to know how big this project is going to be and what it's going to look like.
Well, based on your staff and their needs, we came up with a program, approximate square footage of 3,500 square feet. And I came up with a conceptual design for this. It's 2 floors. Originally, it was 1 floor. And then as a committee, there were others that thought it should be 2 floors. So it is 2 floors, and then from that, Paul was able to work out the site plan and parking. That was another issue we had to address.
Right, when you look at the existing conditions of the parking lot with the 101 parking spaces that we have, you look at where the large septic system is in the back of the building, where we have designed the new addition basically fits into what is available at the site, and basically we've just accommodated the extra square footage with the building addition into some additional increased parking spaces, and maintain as minimal changes as possible to the exterior. So.
And so a question that I get is, will this meet our needs well into the future? And are we maximizing the space on the lot?
Well, I think we're definitely maximizing the space on the lot, because there really is no other area to go to, or there are no other opportunities that we're going to have to expand beyond what we are working on right now, unless something major changes. But at least at this point in time, from a site viewpoint, we are going to add 4 new parking spaces. We're going to convert 9 of the 17 existing handicap parking spaces to regular parking spaces at this point. So there'll be an increase of 13 with the site development itself, but that should be able to take care of 99% of our requirements.
So can you tell me what's going to be on the first floor, building-wise, room-wise?
On the first floor, we have a second entrance. It's not the primary entrance, but there is a new second entrance. And there's a new gym that will accommodate, depending on the exercise, probably 20 to 40 people. And then there's 2 small classrooms for 20 to 25 people. And we've converted some space into additional offices and into a larger kitchen area that could be a conference room on the first floor.
And one of the spaces of those 2 classrooms will be the respite program, with the ability to expand that respite room into a second room when the time comes.
And you were asking if we thought that we'd maximized the building and its use, and that would be the flexibility that's there.
Right, which is great. So we can grow into that space as the need arises. And with the increase in Alzheimer's disease that the Alzheimer's Association has put in their facts and figures, it's important to have that space available in the community. And so tell me about the second floor.
The second floor has a larger classroom, which was something that we needed for the lifelong learning program, and that will seat 48 people. And there is also off of that a lovely deck. We picture yoga out there during good weather.
Right.
Yeah, and that's really the only change on the second floor.
And we did look at an elevator, but let's talk a little bit about that, because that may come up at town meeting, or people might be interested in that.
So we did discuss an elevator, and then in the end we thought it was an additional expense that we didn't need, actually. That's what it came down to.
Right, and the code requires an elevator, but we had one in there, 20 years ago when we designed the existing building. So we're we meet that requirement at this point.
Right.
So.
And that 50-person classroom will be so helpful. Right now, many of our classes that are in the Ellison room were in other smaller rooms, and they've outgrown that space. So it will be wonderful to have that type of space available. I can already see it full. And I can't wait. Hopefully everything will get voted on positively at town meeting.
And I think in many cases, when the respite program began, and I think it was 2005, as a 2-day program, and then obviously expanded to 4 and now to 5. 3 years ago, when we started the discussion about the expansion, that was the primary emphasis. But now with all the other programs expanding from the exercise to the classrooms, lifelong learning, there's just a multitude of reasons why the expansion is needed at this point in time.
Right.
So it's kind of a win-win for everybody here.
Yeah, and something else we should bring up is that there's other groups besides seniors that use the senior center.
Right.
And so we were planning for them as well, because you have many town committees that meet at the senior center,
Right.
as well as Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, and also you have funeral luncheons afterwards at the senior center. So it really is a large community that uses this besides just the seniors.
Right.
And many private functions as well. You have the Rotary Club, you have the Kiwanis Club, and
Right.
other town organizations
Right, and
as
like you
well.
said, many town committees and
Exactly.
trainings
Yep.
happen at the senior center, because right now we have the largest room available for community use, and I think that 50-person or 48-person classroom will be a great benefit if your meeting isn't quite 100, but you need a larger space than our regular classrooms, which are often booked every night. We often say the inn is filled, and so this will be great to have those extra 3 spaces in the evening available for additional meetings for the community to use. So as we gear up for town meeting, what kind of things do we want the voters to know so they can make an informed decision? I know we're going to be holding some community forums, one on February 20th at 9 o'clock in the morning, and one on the 21st at 7, which will follow the Rotary meeting that takes place at the Senior Center, and we really welcome people to come in and get some information on what's, any question they have, and I welcome them to come to the Senior Center and stop in and see me, or, they can talk to any of the committee members as well. So we're really looking forward to that. Tell me a little bit now, we're kind of in the lull waiting period. What happens next? The drawings are out to bid. Tell us a little bit, tell the community a little bit about that.
Well, we actually have the bid open for the project on Wednesday, February 28th, for the general bids, which will be, the bottom line here with the cost of the project itself. But prior to that, 2 weeks before that, on the 13th, 15 days before, we'll open the filed sub-bids in accordance with the state construction regulations to see what the project is actually going to cost. So 10, 12 days before town meeting, we will have the total cost for the project that we will then present to town meeting floor on the 10th. So.
And included in that presentation, I will do a brief presentation, and Joe Cirkovich from Steffi and Bradley will also provide an overview of the project. And our committee will be there to answer questions, and we're looking forward to it. And so we are Article 17
Correct.
at this point as part of town meeting.
So we're hoping that it's voted positively, and construction could begin July 1st.
Which is really exciting.
Yeah, so as we prepare for, town meeting action, last year we, made the commitment that we're going to deliver the project for roughly $2 million, and we're still on budget for that. We know bids are going to be tight just because the economy is a little bit stronger this year than it was last year. So in that respect, if we, have good quality plans and good competitive bids, then we should be right in line there with our consultants' estimates. So.
And I think that's one thing the committee was really budget conscious, to really keep close to that 2 million number. That was the number we presented at town meeting last year, and we really wanted to stay true to that. So let's hope the building and the builders come back with quotes that are in line with that.
So that's important that you mention that, because we did see as the plans would come back to us from the architect, 200 square feet would have been added to it. The next time we saw it was maybe 300 square feet. We did reach a point with the architects where we had to say, somehow we've got to eliminate 400 square feet. because we want to get back to what we told the town we were proposing. So,
And that was great. They were able to, with your guidance,
Yep.
shave off a foot on one side of the building, which we still had great size rooms, and it didn't change the look of the building, but helped us achieve that goal, which was really helpful. And I think some of the other things were some of the finishes. We really scaled back on some of the finishes.
and the landscaping.
Well, hopefully we can work with the community, and what I'm so impressed by is the volunteer and the community support for the senior center. And you know, if you say, you know what, I need, I don't know, 100 blah 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 plants, hydrangeas. Next thing you know, people are donating plants, and so we've been so fortunate, and hopefully that kind of assistance will happen once the project's complete.
Yep.
And the nice thing is, most of the landscaping will not be touched during the process because it is really only that one side of the building.
And the senior center will be in use the entire time the construction's going on. So,
Sure, there's
just
going to be some
people know.
disturbance. There are going to be the workarounds, as we call it, from an engineering
Yeah.
viewpoint, but these are typical with any sort of buildings with an addition being constructed. So people are going to have to be flexible. We're going to have to plan ahead and ultimately just work with the general contractor and his subcontractors to make it work for everybody.
Right, so that they'll be doing their project kind of separate. I mean, it's part of our building, but
Correct.
they won't like break through, I suppose is maybe the right terminology, until close to the end, or so that it really won't interrupt our service.
Right. Yep.
But it will be wonderful to see it come to fruition and the project complete.
Yeah, it's ideal we get going, late spring, early summertime, so we can get the foundation work and the building, shell work and the exterior work before the wintertime sets in, 10 months from now.
Well, let's hope that we have a mild winter next year. You can never tell in New England how the weather is going to be. So what other last final things that we need to let the community know? I think it's really important about the committee meetings or the community meetings on February 20th at 9 o'clock in the morning, February 21st at 7 o'clock. Come visit any of us so you can be an informed voter. Or putting together fact sheets that give basic information about the square footage, the cost of the addition, the type of space that will be created, and that we welcome people to ask any of our committee members questions about the project. Other things that we want to share so that people have
I think
that
it's just an education for many people that really haven't been involved, and probably an update for those people that have been following us the last year or so since town meeting in 2017. So.
And I would welcome people who haven't ever been to the senior center before to come to one of those 2 February meetings. And if they can't, they ought to just come there any day.
Right.
Come in, sit down. They can get coffee at the cafe there and just see how vibrant and busy the senior center is.
It really is a wonderful resource for the community, and we're so fortunate to be part of it. Some other things that are happening that our viewers may not know about, the letters to the editor. There's been some wonderful letters to the editor telling about people's personal experience with the senior center. We are on Facebook as well, so look at our Facebook information if you're not able to get to the senior center for any of these programs. We'll be also doing YouTube videos. We're getting quite high tech thanks to our media coordinator, Brooke McDonough, which has been really terrific to have her on staff. And we'll be sending out information in regards to those frequently asked questions as well.
Good.
We're excited.
Really excited.
Yeah.
So.
It's good to see another project hopefully come along successfully and progressively, and hopefully we can deliver what we kind of committed ourselves to a year ago.
Right.
So.
And we're available for questions and just to be a resource for information for community members so they can make an informed vote at town meeting on March 10th. Or if we're Article 17, so hopefully it will be heard on Saturday, or later in the week. So I want to thank my guests, Pam Campbell-Smith and Paul Brogna, for being here today. During the last 3 years, I have had a wonderful experience working with them both on the feasibility study committee and the building committee. Their knowledge in architecture and engineering has been such a wonderful resource. I've learned so much and just enjoyed their company. So I want to thank you both for your volunteer efforts throughout this process. We couldn't have done it without you, and I'm so thankful. And I'm thankful to the rest of our committee, Scott Lambesi and Brian Cherry, for getting us to this point. And I'm thankful to the community at large for all their support of the Senior Center. So thank you for watching Primetime Live at the Duxbury Senior Center today, and we look forward to seeing you at town meeting this year.